I want to tell you about the first time I noticed a photo was missing. It was a Sunday. We visited my in-laws every Sunday, a tradition established before I arrived in the family and maintained with the specific inflexibility of things that have become identity rather than choice. The house was the same as always, warm, well-maintained, full of the accumulated evidence of a family that documented itself thoroughly. Birthdays, holidays, graduations, vacations, the ordinary moments that become extraordinary when they are framed and placed on walls and shelves where everyone can see them. I had always found it beautiful. That afternoon, I walked past the hallway shelf where our wedding photo had been displayed since the week after our honeymoon. The shelf was there. The photo was not. In its place, a photo of my husband as a child, 7 years old maybe, gap-toothed smile, his mother's hand on his shoulder. A lovely photograph, just not ours. I noticed but said nothing. This is important. I want to be clear that I noticed immediately and chose, deliberately, consciously, to say nothing. Not because I was afraid, not because I didn't understand what I was seeing, but because I had learned in 3 years of marriage to a man I loved and a relationship with his mother that had always been complicated, that some battles reveal themselves more completely when you let them develop. I was patient. I was watching. My mother-in-law's name was Patricia. She was a precise woman, deliberate, the kind of person who arranged flowers with the same attention she brought to everything else in her life. Symmetrical, considered, nothing accidental. Which meant the missing photograph was not accidental. Nothing Patricia did was accidental. She had been managing her feelings about her son's marriage since the week he told her about me. I knew this because Daniel had told me, carefully, with the specific care of a man who loves 2 women and is afraid of the space between them, that his mother had expected someone different. Someone from their community, from their circle, someone whose family she already knew. I was none of those things. I was the woman Daniel had chosen, and Patricia had never quite forgiven him for that. Over the next 6 weeks, I kept count. The wedding photo was the first, then a framed picture from our first Christmas, Daniel and I in matching sweaters that his aunt had given us, laughing at something one of us had said. Then a candid from a family barbecue, my arm around Daniel's cousin, the easy, relaxed evidence of a woman who had been welcomed by everyone in that family except the one person whose welcome mattered most. One by one, quietly, methodically, Patricia was erasing me from the visual history of her home, and I said nothing, not to Daniel, not to his sisters who noticed and exchanged glances and said nothing either, not to anyone. I just kept counting. By the 8th week, every photograph that included me had been removed. Not just replaced, removed. In some places, the walls had been rearranged to cover the gaps. New frames, new arrangements. Patricia was thorough, I had to give her that. She had rebuilt the visual story of her home to tell a version in which I did not exist. Daniel noticed eventually. He came to me on a Tuesday evening, quietly, with the specific expression of a man who has realized something uncomfortable and is trying to figure out how to raise it. "The photos," he said. "Yes," I said. "You noticed." 8 weeks ago," I said. He sat down. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I wanted to see how far she would go," I said. He was quiet for a moment. "How far did she go?" "Every single one," I said. "There is not a single photograph of me left in that house." Daniel confronted his mother. I know this because he told me afterward, carefully with the specific care of a man navigating the most uncomfortable conversation of his adult life. Patricia's response had been measured. She had not denied it. She had said, "It's my home. I choose what goes on my walls," which was technically true and entirely beside the point. "What did you say?" I asked Daniel. He looked at the floor. "I told her it wasn't acceptable," he said. "And?" "She said she'd think about it." She'd think about it. 3 years of marriage, 8 weeks of systematic erasure, and the response was that she would think about it? I looked at my husband. I loved him. I could see how hard he was trying, and I made a decision, quietly, privately, in the way I made most of my important decisions, that if Patricia wanted to erase me, she was going to have to work considerably harder than rearranging some picture frames. I started attending every Sunday dinner with a camera. Not ostentatiously, not as a performance. I simply began documenting every gathering, every holiday, every ordinary Sunday afternoon. I photographed everything: the table, the food, the family, the conversations. I photographed Patricia arranging flowers, Patricia laughing at something one of the grandchildren said, Patricia and Daniel in the kitchen, the easy, comfortable love of a mother and son who have always understood each other. I photographed all of it. And then I had them printed, large, professional quality, framed simply, and I gave them to Daniel's sisters for their birthdays, to his aunt for her anniversary, to his grandmother for Christmas. I distributed the visual evidence of my presence in this family so thoroughly, so warmly, so generously, so completely without apparent agenda, that within 3 months, photographs of me existed in the homes of every member of the extended family, every home except one, Patricia's, which I had left deliberately, conspicuously empty, waiting. The family began to notice. Not immediately, not all at once, but gradually, the way families notice things when they are paying attention and the evidence accumulates. They began to see the difference between their homes and Patricia's. Daniel's sister Rachel was the first to say something. "Mom," she said at a Sunday dinner I will not forget, "why don't you have any photos of Daniel and Emily?" The table went quiet. The specific quiet of a family that has been waiting for someone to say the thing out loud. Patricia said, "I'm redecorating." "You've been redecorating for 3 months," Rachel said pleasantly. More quiet. Patricia looked at her flowers. "I haven't found the right frames," she said. "I have extras," Rachel said. "I can bring some next week." I said nothing through any of this. I ate my food. I passed the bread when it was near me. I smiled at the appropriate moments. I was the most pleasant person at that table, and I watched Patricia understand for the first time that silence is not the same as weakness, that patience is not the same as passivity, that a woman who says nothing while watching everything is considerably more dangerous than one who makes noise. Patricia came to me after dinner, in the kitchen, alone. She stood at the counter while I rinsed dishes, a domestic task I had always performed at her home because it was something to do with my hands, and because it gave me somewhere to look that wasn't directly at her. "You've been giving photos to everyone," she said. "Family photos," I said pleasantly. "For birthdays and anniversaries. People seem to like them." A pause. "You did it on purpose," she said. I turned off the tap, dried my hands, turned to face her. "Yes," I said. "I did." She looked at me for a long moment, the specific look of a woman recalibrating someone she had fundamentally misjudged. "Why didn't you just say something?" she asked. "Because," I said, "I wanted you to understand something that words wouldn't have taught you." "What?" "That I am not going anywhere. Not from this family, not from this marriage, not from the walls of every home that belongs to people who have welcomed me." I paused. "Except this one, which is your choice. and which everyone has now noticed.
Patricia was quiet for a long time. I let her be. I had learned patience over 3 years of loving her son and navigating the specific terrain of a woman who had never fully accepted that love as legitimate. I was not angry. I had been in the early weeks of the photograph removal, but anger had given way, slowly through the weeks of planning and photographing and distributing, to something cleaner, clarity. "I don't dislike you," Patricia said finally. "I know," I said. "I just—" She stopped. "Wanted someone else," I said. She didn't deny it. "He chose me," I said. "He chooses me every day, and I choose him, and I choose this family, including you, even when this family makes that choice difficult." She looked at the counter. "I haven't been fair," she said. 2 words, from a woman who arranged everything with symmetrical precision and had spent 3 years arranging me out of the picture. "No," I said, "you haven't." The following Sunday, Patricia put a photograph on the hallway shelf. Our wedding photo, the one that had been the first to disappear. She had found a new frame for it, simple, clean, silver. She didn't mention it. Neither did I. But when Daniel saw it, when he walked past the hallway shelf and stopped and looked at it and then looked at me, his expression was something I will carry for a long time. Relief. The specific relief of a man who had been standing in the space between 2 people he loved and had finally been given somewhere to stand that didn't require him to choose. Rachel noticed at dinner and said, "Oh, you found frames." Patricia said, "I did." And that was all. No announcement, no apology delivered publicly, no performance. Just a photograph on a shelf where it had always belonged. Sometimes that is enough. My relationship with Patricia is not simple now. I do not expect it to become simple. Some things that start complicated stay complicated, and the best you can do is find a version of it that both people can live with honestly. What I can tell you is this. There is now a photograph of Daniel and me on the hallway shelf of her home, and beside it, placed there last Christmas by Patricia herself, without comment or explanation, is a photo from this year's Thanksgiving. All of us at the table. Patricia at the head. Me beside Daniel. Both of us looking at something someone said that made us laugh. In the photograph, I am undeniably, visibly, completely present, exactly where I have always been, exactly where I intend to remain.